Hey there, and welcome to this episode of An Analyst Angle. We're here live at GTC 26. We're really diving into what's been going on this week. It's really warm here, and it is very packed. I would say that there's definitely overpacked San Jose for that matter. Frederic Van Haren, who's the CTO and founder for HighFens, welcome on board.
I've been coming to GTC forever. My first one was in 2018. A lot of people, and I think it only has been growing more and more people. It's just, it's a little bit too much, but look, it's like the Super Bowl of AI here, so it's who is who.
It definitely is, and I think there's been some interesting announcements. I think there's been some interesting things that haven't been announced this week that we can kind of dive into. What was the thing that you found the most interesting so far this week?
Well, I first have to clarify, GTC is just not a hardware conference. It's all about software and applications, and I think so from a hardware perspective, there's always, bigger, better, which is impressive. It's a single rack takes up 235 kilowatts. I mean, that's quite an impressive feat. I don't know how data centers deal with that. Other announcements are around GPU optimization. I think a lot of people realize that just buying more and more hardware is not going to keep on working. You need to optimize and generate a return on investment. And you could also see, some of the companies that NVIDIA has purchased in the last year. It's all about GPU optimization.
Like Run AI and a couple of the others that have been out there as well.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
And I think when you start to look around and what people are looking for and looking towards, to me, what was interesting was the Jensen's comment on vertically integrated and horizontally open. I don't know how that works in practice with them going after the full stack and now including storage, which you're going to hear about more later on today.
Right, exactly. I think the strategy, even before NVIDIA existed, is that software sells hardware, right? And so if you talk about vertical and horizontal, you need to kind of drive with software. And I think that's exactly what's happening here. We all know they sell a lot of GPUs. They at some point they bought Mellanox, which is their network component. And now, of course, there are rumors that they want to kind of play around in the storage world, and they actually call it AI data platform, so they already have a name for it. They actually have a session here that I'm going to join soon, where they actually talk about what their plans are for storage.
Yeah, and I think they've been bringing out pieces of a data platform in the NIMS and in NeMo and in their stack, bringing in things like CUDA or cuDF and cuVS with the vector search type stuff and things like that. They're definitely getting closer to everything that's going on here and trying to bring, I would say, more storage intelligence closer together with the hardware.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, their goal in the past was end-to-end, meaning NVIDIA is not just for training, it's also for inference. You can see a lot of open claw conversations where it's kind of the tail end on the inference side. And I think that's really what they're trying to do, end-to-end, and then from the software stack going all the way up and down. And we can see it with their software portfolio called NVIDIA AI Enterprise, where more and more of the acquisitions are being pulled into that framework, including NIMS. And so they're kind of trying to say, if you go the NVIDIA way, there's only one package you have to purchase, and all these components come with it. So I think in general, software sells hardware, and I think they really get that.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think again, they've been going down that stack and up the stack for that to kind of, I would say, fill out the middle. I think, one of the things that they haven't done well in the past has been the storage layer, and that's where a lot of their OEM partners are bringing out products with them. Jensen went around signing stuff from Dell and HPE and from a number of others in VAST and a number of others in Weka and others that are out there and Hammerspace, and there's a number of others that are out there like Hitachi, who's leaning in and had some announcements with their IQ product set. What are you seeing that was missing this week? What do you think was missing?
It's difficult to say. There's so much to be seen, right? I mean, I always think from a solution perspective, right? So if I'm a customer, It's great that there is an NVL72 rack I can purchase, but what do I do with it, right? What can it do for me? I think what I would like to see more from NVIDIA, and I wouldn't call it missing, it's just a work in progress, is kind of more the end-to-end solutions within verticals. And I know they're working on it. I know it's difficult. The market goes so quickly that even for an organization like NVIDIA that has many, many people working on these projects, that even for them it's very difficult to keep up, right?
Yeah.
And there are new verticals being added every time. So I wouldn't call it missing, let's call it a work in progress.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they had a lot of announcements to that point in the healthcare space this week, which I found very interesting. I think to your exact point, I think they're looking at where can you find ROI fastest with AI. And I think one of the things that has proven out has been things like drug discovery, as well as things in the medical profession, like looking at MRIs and different types of images and things like that. When you're out talking to customers, how are they prioritizing what they use AI for?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I think if you only can use one word, the word would be education. I think AI is such a broad word that for some people AI is Copilot. It's a Copilot license. I think for other people it's thousands of GPUs. So what we see in the market is a lot of people that see peer pressure. So one vendor is doing one thing or one customer is doing one thing, and they want to beat their competitor, but their competitor is ahead of them. So it's almost like like a magic wand, right? So what do I do with AI? I think what I see is a lot of organizations not understanding what AI is and what it can do for them, right? I think NVIDIA does a great job saying, buy the latest and greatest GPUs, and the more GPUs you buy, the cheaper it gets. I mean, those are all great messages, but not everybody needs the fastest, loudest, most expensive GPUs. A lot of organizations could do with a lot less. And I think, and again, it's education. It's really kind of telling people, what do you want out of this? What's your timeline? You have to realize that the difference between traditional IT and AI is that a successful AI project doubles in capacity every 18 months. It's a whole different strategy. You don't buy a GPU and then you say, I'm going to stick with it for 3 years. Most of the customers we talk to, they buy a GPU, and in the moment there's a new GPU announcement, I mean, they get nervous because it's like they're missing out, right? So,
right.
But in short, a lot of education.
Yeah, I would say that one of the things that I've been seeing, I haven't heard a whole lot of it here, is what processes are being optimized and how do you start with the process and understand the entire flow. I think some of that is being built in. I saw some on the BI level, where people are using AI to go after BI and build workflows and processes on top of that, using agentic technology. I've seen some of it, again, in healthcare. I think that makes a lot of sense, where, hey, I had to pass this image off to multiple people. This is the process I went through. It's a pretty defined workflow and pretty highly intensive and visual and things like that. But it's been very interesting that a lot of this conference, I've seen two different types of people here. One who said, oh wow, I'm getting a ton out of this. And then somebody else who said, as they were walking out of one of the booths, yeah, nobody in that booth knew what the hell they were talking about. It wasn't technical enough. What has been your flavor for the people who are there attending and or exhibiting here this week?
Well, I think the challenge with this conference is that it's heavily focused on AI and anything GPU. And so there are vendors out here and people that are interested in the infrastructure. And then the hyperscalers who are interested in the major hardware announcements. And then they have other people who really don't care that there's a GPU behind it. They are more solution oriented, and they are here to listen and hear about the blueprints, right? NVIDIA calls the blueprint kind of a layer with agents, and it's a vertical, right? Medical and MRIs, and so there's a mixed bag. I can believe that if you go to the floor and you're really not interested in hardware, it's a lot of fancy things, but not really that interesting. I'm surprised they haven't split the conference into kind of consumers or users, if you want, and then the infrastructure side of the house, because it's really kind of a combo. But I think it's challenging, right? There's so much to see, not a lot of time, and a lot of people, right? That's the other thing.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with it next year. If it's still here in San Jose, I think it's outgrown San Jose. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it in Moscone or over in Vegas. To your point, maybe they split it up and have more. They're already doing DC, which is more federal focused. Right. But to your point on the personas, I think that was a pretty interesting one, because you've talked to a number of different personas while you've been here, from data scientists to the hardware folks. What has been your feeling? Are like the data scientists getting what they need out of this, do you think?
I think so. And the reason why, it's going so fast that even when something gets published on the internet, it's already passed, right? And so some of the data scientists, because my background is a data scientist, so a lot of the data scientists I talk to, they come here to kind of listen what's going on, and then to go back and then kind of find out what they can do. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, if you're mixed in a group with data scientists, it's a whole different conversation, right? And you have access to the people from NVIDIA that are working on these things, right? I mean, the way I look at it is that NVIDIA does a lot of the innovation, and then when the innovation gets past a certain level, then they push it to the partners, right? And so the whole NVIDIA strategy, or at least from my perspective, what I've seen over the years, is that's exactly what they do. They innovate. They push to the limits, they publish as much as they can, and then they push it to the partners, to OEMs or software vendors. And then I guess the funny thing is, if you're a software vendor and you're doing your job well, then you get acquired, I guess. So yeah, you're being reeled in.
Or you're Grok and you become an LPU instead of a CPU or a GPU and things of that nature. More acronyms for us to learn.
Right.
Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming on board and helping me break this down. I think, again, it's really one of these massive events where I think a lot of what they talked about at CES and the announcements made last year, they're paying them out this year. So we didn't get yet another new GPU. We got the LPU. But I think that, saying that they're in volume, whatever that means, for Vera and Ruben, and getting out there, and they had some stuff around their Super NICs and some of the other things that they're looking to do. But a lot to stay on top of this week.
Yeah, exactly. If you're looking for GPUs, this is the place to be.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Well, thank you for watching this episode of An Analyst Angle. For Frederic and myself, Rob Strechay, good to see you. See you soon.